What's going on? It's another beautiful day in Tampa Bay, and today we are talking about how you can easily hit 10K a month selling your knowledge and skills online. What we're going to really focus on is how to rapidly grow and monetize your personal brand. And at the end, we're also going to dive into some sales processes that are getting away from high pressure sales and gross sales methods that none of us like. So stick around if you want to figure out how to sell really well without having high pressure and feeling gross about it. So these are the life business frameworks that I personally use and teach, and I've made multiple six figures online with them. And so the first thing that is really, really important is that a lot of times we have unclear monetization paths. We think, all right, do I do a course? Do I do a coaching program? Do I do low ticket products? Do I do a PDF, guides? Do I sell high ticket? Do I do one-on-one? Do I do group? Do I do a community? There's all these different ways of monetizing, and what is the best way to do it, right? So what I have found in my experience and for the clients that I have worked with, the best way is what's called an access offer. And so with an access offer, it is just selling different levels of access to you. So you might have a product that you have your product, which is how you teach your frameworks, your systems, your methods. And in that product, you have your guides, you have your courses, you have your low ticket stuff, your PDFs, whatever. And so you have that, and that's your base. That's how you build it. And then you go into how do we build off of that, right? How do we give people more access to us and to our knowledge? Because that's what people really want. If we're rapidly growing and monetizing a personal brand, people really want to connect with you because they're bought into you, and so they want to work with you as much as possible, and they'll pay more to get more access to you and work closer to you. So let me give you an example of a client that I helped turn her $200 course into a coaching program that she's now selling for $3,000 to $3,500, right? And simply all she did was took her course that she was selling for $500, and it was really hard for her to even get sales for $500. She could barely get people to pay $200 for it. She had a couple people pay $200 for it, and that was like it. And so what we did is just restructured it and created a community around it, added a group, added her one-on-one help and one-on-one check-ins and ways that she could help them through the course instead of them just buying a course. And so with all of that, she was able to 17x the price of her program and go from $200 to $3,500. That's 17.5 times more that she was selling it for. And so you go from unclear monetization, not sure of how you do it, to an access offer. That's the first framework that I use in my life business, that I've used to make multiple six figures online on social media, specifically Instagram and YouTube. Secondly, now we get into, okay, people have this really like transactional feeling when they're going through your process of buying your stuff, and that gets into it feels a little bit weird. It feels a little bit transactional. We lose that human element. They're bought into you and your personal brand, and then it gets really transactional. And that's where you'll have sales drop off. You'll have people not fully commit, like they're into it. And then when it's time to pay the money and the credit cards come out, it gets a little dicey, right? That's because it's too transactional. And so what needs to happen is you need to really, really focus on what I call your 3D brand. So this is your personal brand, right? And so the reason why this is so important is because people buy from people, not businesses, right? And so what I want to focus on here is just the importance of a personal brand, and don't get caught up in the how-tos of it. I have a free masterclass, 37-minute masterclass down below. It's the first link in the description. It'll just take you to another one of my YouTube videos. So that I go deeper into a lot more of these topics if you want to go a little bit deeper into it. But the 3D personal brand, a personal brand is so important because what's going to happen is, let's say like take Apple and Samsung, for example. I'm an Apple guy. However, Samsung has some crazy, and even some other companies like other Android whatever company's operating systems that they use. They have like folding phones that fold this way into like a tablet. Then they have some that are like old school flip phones that fold up like this, and then they're a full screen. Like, it's crazy. The technology arguably is way better on a Samsung phone. Like, it is miles ahead. However, we buy products like Apple. We buy Apple products because even though these companies are better or faster or more, they have whatever, we buy Apple because of the product, because of the brand that is associated with the product, and because of the product itself, because we've had good experience with it in the past, because we buy into the Apple brand. I have a MacBook here. I have an iPad. I have an iPhone. We are so ingrained into, I have Beats headphones. I have Apple wired headphones as well. And so it's like we are so ingrained into the ecosystem and bought into the brand that even if something else is better, we're still going to buy from this because of the brand. And that's why the brand is so important. Then we have another framework is you have really painfully slow growth with organic. Like, trust me, I have been there. I have done it. I've gotten millions of views for myself and for clients organically. In the past, when I was running a marketing agency, and wow, let me tell you that I've gotten millions of views organically, and I've only made a couple $1,000s from it. I was only making $2,000 to $3,000 a month from it. But then once I started using ads with the organic to just fuel that growth, then I really started making money, 20, 30K a month. And that's how I made multiple six figures online. So don't underestimate the power of combining ads with organic content. Another thing that you do need to keep in mind if you want to grow your online personal brand and sell your knowledge and skills online and hit 10K a month, another really important thing is so what happens is we get so focused on these we get so focused on these scatterbrained, half-done projects. We build these things and then we're gonna sell it, and then we get the thing half done and then we don't really get any sales, and then we kind of give up on it, and then we do something else, and then we come up with another idea, and then we think that we're going to start posting on all these different platforms so we can get as much reach as possible. But in the beginning, it's really, really important to get really focused in on just like 2, maybe 3 platforms. For me, it was really Instagram and YouTube. That's how I made most of my money. That's where most of my leads get, like 90-95% of how I made my money and how my leads came through for my business, how I got my clients, all came from Instagram and YouTube, probably 95%. So with that, now I have a system in place where it easily allows me to take an extra 5 minutes tops and just recycle that content onto other platforms, because I've kind of created a system that allows me to do that. But what I really want you to focus on here is stop being so scatterbrained, stop working 8 to 12 hours a day doing half completed projects, having multiple posts on different platforms, and making a post for Instagram and then making a separate post for TikTok and then making one for LinkedIn and then making a YouTube video. Just focus on, like I said, ideally 2 platforms, a long form platform and a short form platform. That is what has worked super well for me. And with that, I focus on one daily input, and then how can I multiply that? How can I leverage that into getting multiple outcomes for it? So for example, I write kind of all the time, just whenever my creativity sparks. But typically I aim to get 1 concept per day written and taught. And then I take that concept and I turn it into an Instagram post. I recycle that content onto Twitter, LinkedIn, TikTok, whatever. And then I also use this post as a guideline for me to riff off of and film YouTube videos so I can go deeper into it and teach you more and give you a little bit more strategies and tactics that I can't put in just a short little post, right? So you have to think of, how can I do 1 daily input, which for me, it's writing about 1 concept a day. How can I do 1 daily input and then turn that into multiple outcomes? How can I leverage that, right? And so then, like I talked about here, if you stayed to the end. How do we get out of this gross salesy like frame of mindset and, oh, I've got to persuade someone to work with me? How do we get out of that? Just crushed the gym workout. Need a little bit of hydration. We hit a chest day today. All right, so how do we get out of that? We get out of that by making our marketing or creating our marketing to do the selling for us. So if it's really hard to sell people, if you're really having a hard time, you're pulling teeth, you're persuading people, you're convincing people, you're like, this should not be so hard. The hard truth is that your marketing sucks. And this was a really difficult lesson for me to learn. But once I learned it, and obviously I'm still learning, we're learning every single day, of course, but once it clicked for me that sales shouldn't be difficult, it's just that my marketing and my messaging and my branding sucks. That's the issue. So when your marketing and your messaging and your branding is on point, once again, like I said, your personal brand, your 3D brand, when that is on point, that is really when everything starts to click and the sales become easier. People just want to work with you, that kind of a thing. It's a cool place to be. But I hope this is that switch for you, that you need to realize that your marketing sucks, and that's okay. Don't take, well, if you take offense to that, you should probably leave, because I'm probably not the person to be telling you this if you're going to be soft. But if your marketing sucks, like, that's just what it is. I learned that lesson too, and it's hard. So if you are still focused right now on these complicated sales processes, webinars, fancy funnels, juggling different sales assets, and all this stuff, what I want to challenge you to do is to get better at your marketing. And the way in which we do that is going to be, and to make it easier to sell these people and to not have to pull teeth and to not have to do all these things, is two things. Number one, case study selling. And so that's where we use previous client results, previous people that you've worked with. If you're like brand new and you haven't gotten any online clients or customers or something like that, this probably isn't the video for you. Like, obviously you're still going to learn these things, but these things will still be helpful to you, but it's more helpful to people who are already making some money online, already making $1,000 to $3,000 a month, and they're trying to push to 10K. That's going to be definitely more helpful for you here. So with that said, take the current clients that you're working with, the past clients that you're working with, the past results that you've gotten. So if you're a beginner, you can literally just use it for like yourself, the results that you've gotten for yourself, because you should be selling stuff that you've already done and problems that you've solved for yourself. So you can do that if you're a brand new beginner, but for the most part, it's so much easier to sell people when you're like, look, I've done it for myself, and I've also been able to help person do it for themselves too. And these people are just like you. So there's no reason why I wouldn't be able to help you do it too, right? That is so much more powerful. And so if we can focus on implementing this case study selling into our marketing, like I talked about, getting your marketing so good, then sales become way easier. There's no high pressure sales, there's no convincing, there's no persuading, all that stuff. And then all we need to have are simple conversations where we have person-to-person connection. And so something that I always say is that people want to buy from people, not businesses. And so if we can take that salesy stuff out of our system, and if we can just be a person and we can just have conversations, whether that's a sales call or whether that's selling people in just messaging on Instagram or Facebook or wherever you message people, over email, over SMS, whatever that is, right? So for me, I don't do sales calls because I hate sales calls. And if someone is not bought into working with me, then I don't want to get on a phone and convince them to work with me, right? So for me, if you're not fully bought in, I don't want that, because that means that either you're not the right person or my marketing and my messaging sucks. And so either one of those are not good, right? So with that, that is personally what I choose to do, but I'm in a spot where I can do that, and that's okay. I cannot take sales calls. If you're in a part where you're still working, you're still building, you're still getting this up and going, you should probably still take sales calls. But once again, don't be like scripty. Don't do salesy stuff. Just be a human, have a conversation, and work on your marketing and use case study selling to do all the hard work so that by the time you get on a sales call with them, it is literally just like yeah, cool, I got a few things that I wanted to clear up, but I'm pretty much good to go, right? That's where you should be at. And so that is how we get rid of the grossness of selling. And so, like I said, all these frameworks, systems, models, these are all different topics that I use and I teach in my life business. This is how I run a business that actually allows me to enjoy my life. It's how I sell my skills and knowledge online. So like I said, I have a free 37-minute masterclass. If you want to check that out, it's the first link in the description. And I will see you on tomorrow's video.